Aha, there you are. Welcome, friend. Come in, take a seat, and settle close to the fire. Whether this is your first time here or you've been traveling with me a while, I'm glad you've made it. Because tonight, like every night, we've got a story to tell. A story of heroes and villains, of battles and quiet moments, of choices, losses, victories, and everything in between. No matter where the tale begins, I promise it'll carry you somewhere worth going. So relax, listen closely, and if you're enjoying these journeys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. There are many more stories waiting just beyond the horizon. Now then, let's begin. Chapter 1: The Challenge. The sun hung low over the cliffs of southern Ionia, casting long shadows across the grassy hills. Birds wheeled overhead, singing their last notes of the day, and at the edge of a quiet clearing stood a young woman, her blade gleaming in the waning light. "I've searched every village, every shrine," Irelia muttered, adjusting the bracers along her forearms. "If the rumors are true, this is where I'll find him." Her long dark hair whipped in the breeze as she stepped forward, scanning the clearing. And there beneath a lone tree, leaning lazily against the trunk, sat a figure. Wrapped in worn purple robes, his hood pulled low, a lamplight staff resting across his knees. Jax. In Jax, the legend himself. "Seriously?" Irelia frowned. "That's him?" He wasn't meditating, or sharpening his weapon, or glowing ominously. He was shelling nuts. He cracked one open with the butt of his staff, popping the morsel into his mouth. Irelia approached, planting her blades into the grass beside her. "Grandmaster," she called, trying to sound both respectful and commanding. Jax didn't look up. "They told me you were taller," he said around a mouthful of nut. Irelia's brow twitched. "I'm Irelia of Navori. I seek the strongest warrior alive." "Not it," Jax replied casually. "I challenge you to a duel." At that, he sighed. "Kid, it's almost dinner. Pick another time." "I won't leave until we fight," Irelia pressed, stepping closer. "I came to test my strength." Jax leaned his head back against the tree. "Bad idea." "Fight me," she insisted. He groaned. "Fine," he muttered, rising to his feet and stretching. "But don't say I didn't warn you. The duel begins." Irelia raised her hands, her blades rising into the air around her, swirling in elegant, deadly patterns. The wind stirred, carrying faint echoes of old Ionian hymns. Jax rolled his shoulders, spinning his lamplight staff once. "All right," he said lightly. "Let's dance." Irelia lunged first, her blades whirling forward like a hurricane. They darted in from multiple angles, left, right, overhead, each strike precise, lethal. Jax sidestepped them effortlessly, twirling his staff to deflect each one with lazy flicks. "Nice form," he said. "Bit predictable, though." She gritted her teeth, commanding her blades to spiral faster, weaving between attacks, switching patterns mid-strike. He parried the next flurry without moving his feet. "Better," he admitted. "Still predictable." Frustrated, Irelia charged directly, kicking off the ground in a spinning leap, blades arcsing around her. Jax ducked beneath the strike, tapped her shin midair with his staff, and sent her spinning harmlessly past him. She landed hard, stumbling. He waited patiently. You're toying with me, she spat. Nah, Jax replied. This is me going easy. She snarled and surged forward again. The turn. 10. For the next few minutes, they circled, blades flashing, staff spinning, dust swirling from their footsteps. Irelia pressed harder, weaving her Ionian magic into the fight, her blades moving faster than the eye. But every strike met his staff. Every thrust redirected. Every opening she thought she saw vanished the moment she moved. Until... crack. Jax's staff struck the earth in front of her, releasing a shockwave that knocked her blades out of orbit. Her weapons clattered to the ground. She staggered, breathless. He stepped closer, his silhouette looming as he rested the staff casually across his shoulders. Fight's over, kid, he said gently. Irelia glared up at him. No, it's not. She lunged barehanded, fists flying. He simply caught her wrist mid-punch, twisted slightly, and flipped her onto her back. The sky spun above her. Her lungs burned. She groaned, staring up at the clouds. Okay, she wheezed. Maybe it's over. Jax chuckled, offering her a hand. Told you. Aftermath. She took it begrudgingly, letting him pull her upright. I thought you'd be fiercer, she admitted. He shrugged. And I thought you'd be taller? She frowned. Do you ever take anything seriously? Sure, he said, but not today. He retrieved his staff, settling back beneath the tree. You've got spirit, he added, cracking another nut. You'll get stronger. Irelia stared at him, her pride bruised, but curiosity blooming beneath it. Key, will you train me? He glanced at her sideways. Not my style, he said, but maybe stick around, might learn something anyway. She sighed, sitting down beside him in the grass. Fine. They watched the sun dip behind the hills in silence. And as the first stars blinked awake above them, Irelia realized for the first time she didn't need to be the strongest right now. Maybe it was enough just to watch. For now. Now, Chapter 2. Lessons in the Field. The morning mist clung low to the hills as Jax walked the dirt path, staff resting lazily across his shoulders, hood pulled low over his face. Behind him, the rhythmic clink of metal followed. I'm not leaving, Irelia called stubbornly. I noticed, Jax replied without turning. I'll follow you across Ionia if I have to. Looks like you already started. I need you to teach me. He sighed, stopping atop a ridge overlooking a winding valley. Below them, smoke curled from the roofs of a small village. No temple bells, no morning market sounds, just faint plumes of gray and silence. Jax pointed with his staff. You want a lesson? He asked. There's your classroom. Irelia frowned. What's that supposed to mean? Looks like bandits rolled through last night. Guess we're here to clean up. Her eyes lit up. A test? He shrugged. Call it practice. The briefing. They descended into the quiet village. Doors hung broken, carts overturned, livestock missing. Burn marks scarred the stone walls. A few frightened villagers peered from hiding. They took everything, one whispered, even the healer's supplies. Their camp's probably in the canyon, Jax muttered, scanning tracks in the dust. He turned to Irelia. All right, kid, listen up. You're gonna handle this. Her eyes widened. Alone? Yep. I'm not ready for. You wanted to be the strongest, didn't you? She swallowed, then steeled herself. Shh, fine. What's your advice? He tapped his staff against her forehead gently. Don't fight their whole army. Fight one person at a time. Irelia blinked. That's it? Yup. She frowned. That's not a technique. That's common sense. Is it? I don't need that kind of advice, she huffed. I'm better than common sense. He chuckled. Your call. She turned, summoning her blades around her, and stalked toward the canyon, the battle. The bandit camp sat nestled between craggy cliffs, fires burning low in makeshift pits. Rough men laughed and counted coins, sharpening swords, gnawing at stale bread. Irelia leapt into the clearing with a whirl of steel. Return what you've stolen, she commanded, her voice ringing clear. The bandits stared, then laughed. Looks like a little bird wandered in, one sneered. Irelia's blades shot forward, pinning his cloak to a wagon wheel. I said, return it. The nearest four charged. She danced between them, blades spiraling like a storm, cutting down the first two before they could swing. But then more poured from the tents. 6, 8, 10, and take 10. Her blades blurred, weaving defense and offense. But for every strike she landed, another blade cut closer. A dagger grazed her arm. A club cracked against her shoulder. Too many, she hissed under her breath, backing toward a boulder. Her breath came faster. Her blades slowed. One bandit tackled her leg, dragging her down. Another raised an axe overhead. Her eyes widened. I can't hold them all. The lesson remembered. And then, in the swirl of chaos, a memory surfaced. Jax's voice. Don't fight their whole army. Fight one person at a time. She grit her teeth. One at a time. She shifted. Instead of scattering her blades, she pulled them tight around a single foe. The axe wielder. She struck fast and hard, disarming him, then kicked him into his comrade. The next blade swept low. She pivoted toward that attacker only, parried, and downed him with a clean slash. The next, and the next. Her storm wasn't wide anymore. It was focused. Each opponent isolated. Each engagement finished before the next began, and slowly, inevitably, the tide turned. Victory. The last bandit stumbled backward, tripping over a barrel. He raised his hands. I surrender. Irelia stood panting, blades hovering at his throat. Good choice, she muttered, lowering them. The bandits fled into the hills. She slumped onto a crate, brushing dirt from her hair, wincing at the bruise swelling along her shoulder. A slow clap echoed from the cliff above. Jax stood there, watching. Told ya? He called down. She glared up. All right. Maybe it wasn't useless advice. He grinned beneath his hood. Lesson 1. Kid. He turned. Simon. Next village is a day's walk. Irelia pushed herself up, stretching sore muscles. More bandits? Probably. You'd be. She shook her head, a reluctant smile tugging at her lips. Fine. Ha. She followed. And high above them, the sun rose over Ionia's peaks, casting light over the winding road ahead. Chapter 3. Beneath the Falls. Irelia stared up at the waterfall. It wasn't the tallest she'd ever seen, but standing at its base, feeling the thunderous roar shake the very stones beneath her feet, it felt impossibly vast. Water churned in a foaming pool at the bottom, cold mist swirling in the air. The cascade above pounded down in an endless silver torrent, a force both beautiful and terrifying. Jax leaned lazily against a boulder nearby, staff resting across his shoulders. "This is your next lesson," he said casually. Irelia frowned. "Hey, you want me to swim across it?" "Nope." "Ada. Climb it?" "D?" He chuckled. "Worse." She scowled. "What then?" He pointed. "You're going to sit under it." She blinked. "Under that?" "Yup." "Heh." He gestured at the heart of the cascade, where water slammed relentlessly onto jagged rocks. "Sit cross-legged. Close your eyes. Stay as long as you can." She stared at him like he'd sprouted a second head. "That's not training. It's patience." She folded her arms. "I don't need patience. I need strength." He smirked beneath his hood. "Same thing. The trial." The first few minutes weren't terrible. The cold hit like a slap, shocking every nerve awake. But she'd felt worse in battle, she told herself. Then 5 minutes passed. Her clothes clung, heavy and soaked. Her muscles clenched involuntarily. Her teeth began to chatter. 10 minutes. The roar of the falls blurred her hearing, drowning every thought in white noise. The relentless pressure of the water hammered her shoulders, her skull, her spine. 15 minutes. Her legs cramped. Her arms burned from bracing herself against the rocks. Her mind screamed for escape. "Why am I doing this?" she thought bitterly. "This isn't fighting. This isn't strength. This is pointless suffering." She imagined stepping out, returning to Jax, demanding a real challenge. But he'd just smirk again, she thought. Tell me I failed. Tell me I wasn't ready. And somehow, that hurt more than the water. The inner war. She forced her breathing slower. "Told you. Patience." The memory of Jax's easy voice drifted through the roar. Strength isn't just muscle. It's what doesn't break when everything tells it to. She gritted her teeth, curling her hands into fists. "I'm stronger than this. I won't be washed away." Minutes blurred. She lost track of time. The cold numbed her. The pounding water became less like a force against her, more like a veil surrounding her. Still. Ken. Still. Still. And slowly, something shifted inside her. Not defiance. Not pride. A quiet resolve. A sense of enduring. Of being without resisting. For the first time in her life, she wasn't fighting the world. She was with it. The aftermath. When she finally stepped out, soaked and trembling, Jax was still leaning against the rock, spinning a pebble lazily in his fingers. "Not bad, kid," he said. "You lasted longer than I thought." Irelia collapsed onto the grass, breathing hard, every muscle exhausted but peaceful. Was that the whole lesson? She asked. He sat down beside her. Nah, just the start. He tossed the pebble toward the stream. There's a town east of here, he said. Word is, something's stirring there, not bandits this time. He glanced at her. I want you to go. She raised an eyebrow. Alone? Ha. He nodded. You've learned how to fight. You've learned how to wait. He tapped her temple gently. Now let's see if you've learned how to see. Irelia exhaled, still catching her breath. And what will you be doing? He stretched with a groan. Nap. Nap. She shook her head with a tired smile. Of course. She stood, wringing water from her sleeves. All right, Grandmaster? East, then. And as she set off down the path, her steps steady despite the ache in her limbs, Jax watched her go with a quiet nod. The sun glinted off the falls behind him. Chapter 4. The Quiet Town. The sun was setting by the time Irelia reached the town. It lay nestled in a shallow valley, simple houses clustered around a well. Lanterns glowed softly along cobbled paths. Farmers returned from the fields. A blacksmith hammered at an anvil. Children's laughter floated in the breeze. At first glance, everything seemed normal. But as Aurelia walked deeper into the streets, a strange quiet followed her. Heads turned, smiles faded a little too quickly. Conversations halted the moment she passed. She stopped near the well, hands on her hips. Friendly bunch, she muttered. An elderly woman sweeping her doorstep offered a thin, tight-lipped smile. Don't stay long, dear, the woman advised quietly. We're not used to outsiders. Aurelia's eyes narrowed. What is that? The woman hesitated, just the way it's always been. Before Aurelia could press further, the woman shuffled inside, bolting the door behind her. One by one, shutters closed along the street. Lanterns dimmed. The last child was called inside. By nightfall, the town was silent, empty. Watching. Nightfall. Aurelia sat near the well, blades hovering idly at her side. The moon rose. The air grew cold, and then she heard it. Footsteps, soft at first, then more. She turned. The townspeople stood at the edges of the square, staring, their faces blank, their eyes dull and distant, shimmering faintly with a sickly green light. They moved in unison, like puppets pulled by invisible strings. What in Ionia? Aurelia whispered, rising to her feet. A farmer stepped forward. Leave, he intoned flatly. The shepherd calls. Here Leah summoned her blades. I'm not going anywhere. Behind the farmer, others emerged, wielding scythes, hammers, pitchforks. They advanced, slow but inevitable. The shepherd wills it, they droned in eerie unison. Aurelia's breath caught, not themselves. She leapt backward as the first swung a sickle at her. Her blades lashed out, knocking the weapon aside without harming the farmer. Something's controlling them, she murmured. Her gaze swept the rooftops, the shadows, the tree line. Where's the source? Following the trail, she danced between attacks, evading, disarming, dodging, never striking to kill. Each blow felt wrong, like fighting echoes instead of people. Then she saw it, a faint green mist seeping from the well. Her eyes widened. My poison. No, not poison. Where is Barana? And she dashed to the well, blades forming a defensive ring as villagers pressed closer. Peering into the depths, she saw it, a faint glow, rise. A skeletal hand gripped the stones from below. A second followed, and from the shadows of the well's depths, a voice whispered, "You cannot save them, child. They are already mine." A tall figure emerged, clad in tattered robes, a massive spade resting across his shoulders, his face hidden beneath a bone-white mask. Wisps of spectral mist coiled around him. "Yorick," he really breathed. He stepped fully into the moonlight, towering, solemn. "The dead serve the living no longer," he intoned. "They serve the grave." Behind him, ghouls began to rise from the earth, crawling from cracks, clawing from the well, forming ranks. The villagers fell to their knees as if in prayer. Aurelia's blades glowed brighter. "And I'll free them myself." Yorick raised his spade. "Let us see." The ghouls lunged. Iria charged, and the night swallowed the clash of steel and shadow. Chapter 5. Blades and Graves. The ghouls lunged. Aurelia spun, her blades arcing around her like a silver cyclone, deflecting the first wave. Sparks flashed as steel met claw. Dirt sprayed from the cobbles as her feet slid back from their momentum. Behind the ghouls, Yorick lifted his spade. With a guttural chant, he slammed it into the ground. A deep tremor rippled outward. From the cracks, mist walkers crawled forth, snarling as they surged toward her. Aurelia narrowed her eyes. "And we danced." She dashed forward, her blades weaving a glowing pattern in the air. Key. Blade surge. Her first blade pierced a ghoul's heart, allowing her to blink forward in a blink of light. She chained the momentum, leaping from ghoul to ghoul, each strike clean and precise. But with each ghoul that fell, more clawed their way from the soil. "Unless," she muttered under her breath. The cage descends. York raised his hand. A rise. A swirling black mist gathered in a circle around her feet. Aurelia's blade spun defensively as stone walls erupted around her, forming a cage of spectral stone. "Not so fast," Yorick rumbled. Aurelia darted to the edge, blades slashing against the walls. Sparks flew, but the stone held. Outside the prison, mistwalkers gathered. Yorick pointed. "Raker." They lunged at the barrier, their claws dragging across its surface, snarling, building pressure. Aurelia closed her eyes, centering herself. "Patience," she whispered. With defiant dance, she brought her blades close, a shimmering shield forming around her as she channeled energy. The first mistwalker broke through. She released the charge. A burst of energy erupted outward, the shield expanding in a shock wave that shattered part of the stone prison and vaporized the nearest ghouls. She dove through the opening, blades unfurling again into a lethal halo. The town falls. Buildings trembled under the weight of Yorick's summons. Roofs collapsed as larger creatures, a monstrous maiden of the mist, crawled from the well, its form swirling with corrupted energy. and let out a haunting wail. "Destroy her," Yorick commanded. Aurelia grit her teeth. "Die," and the maiden charged. Aurelia ducked beneath a sweeping claw, slicing along the creature's plank. Mist billowed from the wound, but the maiden swiped again, clipping a wall behind her. The home collapsed in a cloud of dust and timber. Villagers scrambled from the debris, coughing. Uaya cursed under her breath. "I can't let them die for me." She sprinted toward the fallen structure, blades covering her retreat. The turning point. Yorick raised his spade again. "Return to the earth," he intoned. A spectral eulogy of the Isles shimmered above him, blessing his ghouls with renewed vigor. They surged faster. Aurelia's movements slowed, sweat dripping down her brow. Too many. The maiden lunged again, a swipe aimed at the fleeing villagers. Aurelia threw her blades forward. A flawless duet. Two blades crossed paths, midair, forming a glowing tether. They snapped shut in front of the maiden's claw, stunning the creature mid-swipe. "Not today." She leapt toward the tether. E reset. Blade spurt dash. Her blades reformed mid-flight, carving a streak of light as she dashed through the stunned maiden, then another ghoul, then another. Each kill refreshed her movement, chaining together a dance of deadly grace. The final clash. She landed hard in front of Yorick. Only him and her now. He swung his spade in a wide arc. She deflected. His strength pushed her back. He swung again. She rolled beneath it, cutting across his thigh. He grunted, stomping the ground, sending a shock wave that knocked her sideways into a wall. Rebel rained down. She coughed, wiping blood from her lip. "You're strong," she admitted. Yorick's hollow eyes stared through his mask. "But you're not the last," he rumbled. "The Isles will return." She stood shakily, blades rising. "And I'm not finished." Her blades formed a gleaming circle above her. Beach. Vanguard's edge. She hurled them forward. The blades soared in an arc, crashing down around Yorick in a glowing cage of light. The ground lit beneath him, roots of radiant energy locking him in place. Aurelia surged forward, blades diving in a final flurry of strikes, each hit carving deep into his defenses. Yorick staggered. The maiden screeched, dissolving into mist. The ghouls crumbled, and at last he fell to his knees. "The grave waits for all," he whispered, and collapsed. Aftermath. Silence fell. The town was in ruins. Smoke drifted from broken homes. But the villagers, slowly, warily, emerged from hiding, their eyes clearer now, their chains broken. Aurelia stood in the rubble, panting, blades dimming around her. She stared down at Yorick's fallen form. "You were right, Jax," she murmured. "Fighting's the easy part." Her gaze lifted toward the eastern hills, where the next lesson waited. Chapter 6. The final lesson. The sun was setting when Aurelia crested the last hill. She felt every step in her bones, every ache from the battle with Yorick, every bruise from the fight to free the town. Ahead, beneath the same lone tree where she'd first found him, Jax sat cross-legged, his lamplight staff across his lap. He opened one eye as she approached. "Well," he said casually, "you're not dead. That's promising." Aurelia smirked tiredly. Almost was. I heard. He cracked a nut between his gloved fingers, popping it into his mouth. You're a nasty guy. She sat beside him, staring at the fading sun. I saved them, she said quietly. Jax nodded. I know. Silence settled between them. Finally, he stood, brushing dust from his robes. You've come far, kid. She looked up. But not far enough, he added. She frowned. I am giving you 3 days, Jax said. Rest, heal, reflect. He turned, spinning his staff lightly in one hand. Then, come back here. She rose, curious. Why? He grinned beneath his hood. Because next time, he planted the staff into the ground, his posture straightening. I won't hold back. 3 days later, Aurelia stood again at the edge of the clearing. Her blades hovered, gleaming faintly in the dawn. Jax waited at the center, hood lowered, staff held firmly in both hands. You sure about this? He asked. She took a steady breath. Yes. He nodded once. Then let's dance. The joie. Aurelia moved first, blades spinning forward in a crescent arc. Jax parried with his staff, twisting it to deflect each strike without retreating a step. She advanced. Aurelia ducked beneath a wide sweep, kicking at his knee. He shifted his weight, planting his staff to vault over her, landing behind. She spun, blades snapping together in a flurry of quick jabs. He blocked each one. Better, he said approvingly. She narrowed her eyes, darting forward with blades wurge, chaining between phantom targets to reposition. He swept his staff low, tripping her mid-air. She rolled with the fall, springing back upright. Much better. Flashing abilities. Ria's blades glowed brighter. She sent flawless duet, 2 blades flying outward, tethering across his path. He leapt backward, avoiding the stun, then countered with a powerful staff slam, sending a shock wave through the ground. She braced, deflecting debris. Their silhouettes danced across the clearing. Blades against staff, speed against control, fury against calm. Every move she'd learned, every lesson from battle, unfolded in her strikes. And Jax, for the first time, met her fully. Every parry was precise. Every counter was deliberate. He wasn't toying with her now. He was testing her, and she kept up, strike for strike, step for step. The draw, their final clash echoed like thunder. Aurelia lunged, blades forming a radiant arc, while Jax swung his staff in a rising uppercut. Both struck at once. A burst of energy flared between them, kicking up a cloud of dust. When it cleared, they stood locked in place, weapons crossed, breathless, neither pushing forward, neither falling back. Jax exhaled slowly. Call it a draw? Aurelia grinned, panting. Only this time. He laughed. Fair? They lowered their weapons. Cotting words. Jax clapped a hand on her shoulder. You've got fight, kid. She looked at him, her pride softened by quiet gratitude. Thanks for not going easy. Didn't have to, he replied. You're ready. Ready for what? Whatever the world throws at you. He stepped back, leaning his staff across his shoulders again. Oh, she tilted her head. What about you? I'll be around, he said, with a wink. I always am. She smiled faintly, turning toward the path east. With one last glance back, she bowed her head. Thank you, Grandmaster. He raised a hand lazily in farewell, and as Aurelia walked into the rising sun, her blades glinting with each step, Jax watched quietly. She's gonna be fine, he murmured to himself, then cracked another nut, tossing it into his mouth. Epilogue. The road ahead. The road stretched out before her, winding between sunlit hills and distant valleys, every step dusting her boots with the red earth of Ionia. Tirilio walked alone. Her blades floated silently at her sides, glinting faintly in the morning light. The air smelled of wild flowers, damp soil, and the faint promise of rain. Behind her lay the clearing. Behind her lay Jack. Behind her lay every lesson earned in blood and grit. And ahead, everything else. She paused at a ridge, gazing across the plains below. The caravan wound its way along the distant path. Smoke curled from a village at the edge of the woods, and beyond that, mountains she'd never climbed, rivers she'd never crossed, battles she hadn't yet fought. Aurelia took a slow breath, closing her eyes. You're ready for whatever the world throws at you, Jax had said. She smiled faintly. We'll see. Her blades lifted, her feet stepped forward, and as the wind stirred the grass around her, carrying whispers of war and hope alike, Aurelia walked on toward the next challenge, toward the next lesson, toward whatever awaited her at the edge of the world. And somewhere beyond the hills, a quiet voice murmured, "Not bad, kid."
Welcome, traveler. Before the story begins, let me welcome you. Here, in these pages, you are not just a reader. You are a companion, a witness, and sometimes a participant in the journeys ahead. Whether you're drawn by adventure, longing for laughter, or searching for a quiet moment of wonder, I hope you find a little of what you seek. Settle in, take a deep breath. The world may be wild, but for now, you're safe here among friends and stories. Wherever the path leads, thank you for walking it with me.
The door creaks open as the scent of roasting meats and firewood wafts through the air. A soft hum of laughter and clinking mugs greets you. You step inside the hearth-lit tavern, boots brushing dust from the trail. The fire crackles warmly, and a gentle hush falls across the room as the old storyteller at the hearth looks up, smiling with weathered eyes. Ah, another traveller. Come sit. You've wandered far, haven't you? This place is safe for now. No kings, no monsters, just stories and souls like yours, looking for something familiar, or maybe something new. He gestures to a chair near the fire. Tonight, I'll tell you a tale older than war, but young as love, of fire and fury, fists and flame, of a dragon who sought peace in a world that feared her, and a brawler who carved his own path with grit and charm. A tale of Shyvana and Set, two beasts born of very different storms, who found each other where steel and soul collide. The tavern quiets. The flames dance a little higher, casting golden shadows on stone walls. Rest easy now. Let your worries fade with the wind outside these walls. You're among friends. And this story, this one's for you. In the wilds bordering Demacia and the lawless lands of the outer territories, two unlikely souls cross paths. Shyvana, a half-dragon warrior raised under the banners of Demacia, struggles with her identity. torn between human discipline and the raging beast within. Set, the boss of Ionia's fighting pits, seeks new territories, new thrills, and maybe something to fill the hollow place in his heart. When a clash of pride and misunderstanding pits them against each other, sparks fly, but greater threats stir in the untamed wilds. An ancient enemy rises, forcing Shyvana and Set into a reluctant alliance. Through battles, banter, and betrayals, these two ferocious hearts may discover that the fiercest fight is the one against loneliness, and that sometimes love roars louder than war. Chapter 1: Clash of Beasts. The borderlands were lawless. Where Demacia's proud patrols ended and the feral wastes began, strength ruled. Shyvana strode through the dense brush, scales glinting in the afternoon sun. She had been sent to investigate rumors of a new boss, terrorizing the nearby villages. Instead of a monstrous warlord, she found Set lounging against a shattered statue, arms crossed, smirking like he owned the world. "You lost, sweetheart," he drawled, his Ionian accent thick and lazy. Shyvana's eyes narrowed. "Move," he chuckled, a rich, throaty sound that made her fists clench. "Or what? Gonna huff and puff and blow me down?" Their battle shook the earth. Fists collided with claws, laughter clashed with roars. Neither yielded easily, and by sunset, both lay bruised and panting. Set wiped blood from his mouth and grinned. "Damn scales, you're kinda my type." Shyvana growled, but something flickered behind her golden eyes, confusion and curiosity. Chapter 2: Reluctant Allies. The ground trembled. A massive beast, corrupted by void energies, tore through the hills, an old terror from the cataclysm that had once scarred Runeterra. Shyvana and Set exchanged a look. Truce. "Fine," she spat. "Fight now, settle scores later." "That's the hottest thing anyone's ever said to me," Set grinned, cracking his knuckles. They fought side by side, an unstoppable whirlwind of fury and flame. Shyvana's dragonfire seared the creature's tendrils. Set's fists shattered its bones. When it finally fell, Set threw himself onto the grass with a laugh. "We make a hell of a team, Scales." Shyvana didn't answer. Her heart pounded, and it wasn't from the fight. Chapter 3: Banter and Brawls. Their journey southward was riddled with squabbles. "You're too loud," Shyvana snapped one morning. "You're too serious," Set teased back. They bickered over campfires, argued over ambush tactics, and traded insults like sparring blows. But their bond grew stronger with every battle won, every meal shared. One night, after Set accidentally dropped an entire roast into Shyvana's lap, she retaliated by transforming mid-dinner, singeing his hair. "Guess you like your meat extra crispy," he said, unfazed, flashing a toothy grin. For the first time in a long time, Shyvana laughed. Chapter 4: Cracks in the Armor. They found a ruined shrine, half swallowed by the earth, and camped there for the night. Under a sky scattered with stars, Set sprawled beside the fire, arms pillowed behind his head. "You ever think about quitting?" he asked casually. "All the fighting, the orders, the chains." Shyvana stared into the flames. "I fight because I have to. Because if I don't, the beast wins." Set turned his head, watching her. "Maybe the beast ain't the bad part." Silence stretched between them, heavy and thoughtful. Chapter 5: Fire and Fur. A sudden storm forced them to seek shelter in a shallow cave. Wet, shivering, and exhausted, the tension that had simmered between them finally boiled over. Set pulled her close, muttering something about body heat. Shivana snarled half-heartedly, but didn't pull away. Their first kiss was clumsy, more teeth than lips, but it ignited something primal and tender in both. By morning, they lay tangled together, bodies and souls bruised but whole. "You're trouble, boss," Shivana whispered against his chest. Set chuckled, stroking her hair. "Yeah, but I'm your kind of trouble." Chapter 6. The Rising Threat. News travelled fast. An ancient void beast, long dormant beneath the sands, was stirring, a true horror, older than even Shivana's dragon blood could remember. It was Kassadin who warned them, appearing like a phantom from the shadows. "If it wakes," he said grimly, "there will be no kingdom left to save." Shivana and set aside all distractions. Love was fierce, but survival demanded fury. Together, they journeyed toward the heart of the corruption, toward the fight that would decide more than just their fates. Chapter 7. The Awakening. As they neared the heart of the desert, the ground pulsed beneath their feet. Shivana and Set stood at the lip of a massive sinkhole where the void corruption twisted reality itself. Out of the darkness, the ancient beast emerged. Its flesh rippled with impossible colors, void tendrils writhing against the night sky. "That's one ugly son of a," Set muttered. "Focus," Shivana growled, her wings flaring with golden fire. The creature roared, sending a shockwave that hurled boulders like pebbles. The battle had begun. Chapter 8. Dance of Fire and Fury. Shivana transformed, her scales blazing like a newborn star. She soared high, diving with devastating strikes. Set followed her lead on the ground, moving with brutal precision, each punch a symphony of violence. The beast adapted quickly, splitting into two smaller, quicker forms. Shivana barrel-rolled through one, flames scorching its hide. Set grabbed another by a writhing tendril and suplexed it into the sand. Laughter and roars mingled in the chaos of battle, a testament to their unbreakable spirit. But the creature was cunning. It lashed at Set with a barbed tail, piercing his side. "Set!" Shivana shrieked, fury and terror twisting in her chest. Set grinned, blood dripping from his lip. "Ain't nothing, sweetheart." Together, they launched a final desperate attack, Shivana breathing a torrent of purifying fire, while Set, with the last of his strength, punched through the creature's core. The earth shook. The void horror dissolved into black mist. Chapter 9. Aftermath. Set collapsed in the sand, gasping. Shivana raced to his side, pressing her hands against his wound. Panic warred with purpose inside her. "Hold on," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I'm not losing you, you stupid, stubborn, wonderful idiot." Set coughed out a laugh. "You think I'm letting you off that easy?" She tore fabric from her cloak, binding his wound with trembling hands. Around them, the desert fell silent, and for the first time in centuries, peace reigned. Chapter 10. Healing and Hearth. They found refuge in an abandoned outpost. Shivana tended to Set's injuries with surprising tenderness, her claws gentle as feathers. He teased her mercilessly the entire time. "Didn't know you cared so much, Scales," he said, winking. "Shut up," she snapped, but her cheeks flushed a deep crimson. Nights blurred into days. As Set healed, their bond deepened. Through stolen kisses, through shared silences, through the quiet, knowing that they were stronger together than apart. Chapter 11. A New Threat, a New Home. Rumors reached them of a Demacian force seeking to reclaim the wild borderlands. Set cracked his knuckles. "Guess we ain't getting bored, huh?" Shivana smiled, her fangs flashing. "Let them come." They began gathering allies, misfits, outcasts, and wild souls, building a sanctuary where the old laws of blood and conquest held no sway, a place forged by fury and fire and love. Chapter 12. Promise Beneath the Stars. One night, beneath a sky ablaze with constellations, Set pulled Shivana close. "You ever think maybe we were made for this?" he murmured. Shavana rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady thump of his heart. "Maybe," she said, "or maybe we made it ourselves." They kissed, slow and lingering, a promise written in fire and fury. Chapter 13. Legends never die. Their names became legend. The dragon and the boss who defied kings and nightmares alike. In the world beyond, kingdoms rose and fell, empires burned and rebuilt. But in the heart of the wilds, where laughter echoed through the canyons and bonfires danced under the stars, Shivana and Set lived, fierce, free, and forever together. End. The fire burns low now, its embers glowing soft and red. The storyteller leans back, his voice gentler, slower. And so ends their tale, of dragons and fists, of hard-won love and wilder roads. But don't think it ends forever. Legends don't die. They live in every ember, every starlit sky, every shared glance when no words are needed. He rises, brushing off his cloak, and nods toward the door. Out there, the world keeps turning, but maybe, just maybe, you'll carry a little of their fire with you, a little of their fury too. Whatever you face out there, remember this: sometimes the fiercest hearts are the ones that love the loudest. The wind picks up as the tavern door swings open again. A new traveler enters, and you. Well, your story is just beginning. Exposition. In the highlands of Targon and the sacred mountains of Ionia, ancient powers stir once again. Li Sin, the blind monk and master of the spirit dragon, roams the world to maintain balance between mortal ambition and celestial will. Leona, the radiant dawn and chosen of the Solari, is a living embodiment of the sun's might, sworn to protect the world from darkness. When an ancient evil reawakens, embodied by Morgana, the fallen, who seeks to unshackle mortal hearts through vengeance and chaos, their fates collide. Amid trials of fire, spirit, and light, Li Sin and Leona must forge a bond stronger than steel, learning that even the brightest souls carry shadows. In a journey brimming with fierce battles, emotional awakenings, and forbidden love, they will discover that the only way to triumph over the darkness within and without is together. Chapter 1. The Gathering Storm. The celestial winds howled atop Mount Targon. Li Sin meditated at the summit, his spirit tethered to the deeper currents of the world. The mountain groaned beneath him, ancient magic awakening. His senses, far keener than sight, warned him of a disturbance below, one that twisted the sacred harmony of life itself. Images danced behind his closed eyes, villages burning, spirits crying out. Far to the south, in the halls of the Solari temple, Leona knelt before the shining icon of the sun. The council of elders, grave and watchful, spoke of the fallen sister, Morgana, whose words of false liberation fanned rebellion across the valleys. Their voices were tinged with fear, for Morgana was not merely an enemy of the Solari, but a once beloved sister lost to darkness. "We must bring the dawn to these shadows," Leona said, her voice ringing clear. Duty weighed heavy on her shoulders, but she bore it gladly. The sun was her oath, her guide. The council agreed. Thus, two paths, one of spirit, one of light, began to converge. Chapter 2. An unexpected meeting. In the lush Ionian valley near the ruins of Hirana Monastery, the land sang a broken song of mourning. Lee Sin fought alone, fending off Morgana's acolytes who poisoned the waters and burned the sacred groves. Each strike of his fists sent shockwaves through the mist, each movement a prayer for redemption. Leona descended like a spear of light, her shield blazing. Her arrival turned the tide of battle, fire meeting fire, purpose meeting purpose. When the dust settled, they faced one another. "You are not blind," Leona said, seeing the wisdom and sorrow etched into his stance. "Nor are you chained to sight alone," Lee Sin answered, hearing the compassion hidden behind her radiance. From mutual respect, a tentative alliance was forged, an alliance born not of convenience, but of kindred souls. Chapter 3. Shadows of Morgana. Whole villages whispered Morgana's promises, freedom from judgment, release from pain. But freedom twisted by hatred is but another form of bondage. Her words preyed on old wounds, deepening scars left by broken faith. Lee Sin reflected on his own failures, the monastery he had destroyed in his youth, a wound that still bled in his soul. Leona recalled the countless Solari cast into exile for daring to love, to question the rigid doctrines that shaped her faith. "We understand why they listen," she said, pain flickering in her golden eyes. "And because we understand," Lee Sin answered, "we must not falter." Their journey deepened into enemy territory and into each other's guarded hearts, each step a test of conviction. Chapter 4. Trials by Fire. At the cavern of the sleeping dragon, where elemental forces ran wild, a corrupted dragon emerged, a twisted mockery of the spirit guardians meant to protect the sacred lands. Lee Sin channeled the spirit of the dragon within him, igniting the cavern in a swirling inferno. The beast roared, and its breath blackened the stalactites above. Leona shielded them both with radiant barriers, pushing her limits as solar magic clashed with corrupted flame. Exhausted and scarred, they retreated to a grove where ancient spirits wept, their sorrow palpable in the mist. By the fire's light, Lee Sin tended Leona's burns, his touch trembling, reverent. "You endure," he whispered. "Because there is no other choice," she replied, her voice raw with pain and pride. Their hands lingered too long. Heartbeats quickened. In the stillness, emotions flared, unspoken, yet undeniable. Chapter 5. Dance of Light and Spirit. Training together became more than survival. It became communion of soul and purpose. Lee Sin taught her to hear the spirit world's whispers, the breath of trees, the lament of stones. Leona taught him the weight of duty born with hope, not penance. Their sparring matches grew fierce, laughter interspersed with bruises and bruised egos. Late one evening, after a brutal match, they collapsed into laughter, breathless and disarmed. Lee Sin brushed a stray lock of hair from Leona's face, his touch reverent. In that fleeting moment, the abyss between them closed. Only duty pulled them apart once more, their love kindling like a hidden ember. Chapter 6. Morgana's Perspective. Far across the mountains, Morgana brooded in her fortress of living vines and shadowed mirrors. She felt their bond growing, and it enraged her. "They are no different than those who chained me," she whispered to the darkness. To Morgana, love was a double-edged blade, a promise of freedom turned to chains of expectation. The Solari had demanded her loyalty, her obedience. In their betrayal, she had found a new creed, to tear down the heavens themselves. She sent visions of despair to Lee Sin and Leona, whispering doubts, weaving nightmares. Their hearts were her battleground as much as the soil of Ionia. Chapter 7. The Battle at Dawn's Edge. The mists of the silent forest clung heavily to the earth as Leona and Lee Sin approached the heart of the corruption. Morgana's forces had gathered, twisted spirits, corrupted Solari outcasts, and dark beasts summoned from the folds between worlds. Leona brandished her zenith blade, sunlight gleaming from its edge. Lee Sin tightened the bandages around his fists, channeling the spirit dragon into every fiber of his being. They exchanged a brief, fierce glance, a silent promise that they would not falter. The first wave came in a torrent of shadow. Leona thrust her shield forward, the light exploding outward and shattering the front ranks. Lee Sin moved like a tempest, fists striking with blinding speed, his every motion a dance between destruction and grace. Together, they carved a path through the nightmare. Morgana descended from the withered canopy, her wings of darkness unfurling. Her voice was a siren's call and a hammer's blow. "You fight to protect chains," she hissed. "You fight to preserve lies." The earth cracked beneath her words, and shadows swallowed the sun. Lee Sin charged first, sensing the true source of her corruption, the festering pain, the wound never healed. Their clash shook the forest, light against darkness, spirit against void. But Morgana was cunning. As Lee Sin struck the final blow to sever her magic from the forest's heart, she lashed out in a desperate gambit. Dark tendrils wrapped around him, sinking deep, and with a deafening crack, he was hurled across the battlefield. Leona screamed his name. Chapter 8. The Wounded Flame. Leona fought like a star unleashed. Her fury scorched the battlefield, driving back Morgana's forces. But the moment she saw Lee Sin lying broken amidst shattered stone and twisted roots, her heart faltered. She dropped to his side, hands glowing with radiant energy. His chest rose shallowly, blood staining his robes. "Stay with me," she whispered, her tears falling freely. Around them, the battle raged, but Leona saw only him. Her shield formed a dome of sunlight, warding off further attacks. Karma and Shen arrived with reinforcements, buying them precious moments. With great effort, Leona lifted Lee Sin into her arms. She would not let the darkness claim him. Not him, never him. Chapter 9. Return to Solari's embrace. They travelled for days, across scarred lands and silent valleys. Leona barely slept, focusing every ounce of her power on keeping Lee Sin alive. His spirit flickered like a dying candle, but it did not go out. At last, they reached the foot of Mount Targon. The Solari priests, awed and fearful, admitted them into the sacred halls. Leona laid him upon the altar of the Dawnbringer, the place where miracles were whispered to be born. For hours she prayed, her hands never leaving his. When he finally stirred, weak but alive, she wept openly, uncaring of the watching acolytes. "You came back to me," she breathed. Lee Sin's cracked lips formed a faint smile. "I would always find my way to your light." Chapter 10. Deeper than words. Healing took time. As Lee Sin recovered, Leona stayed by his side. She read to him, taught him the hymns of the Solari, listened as he spoke of Ionian legends. In those quiet days, their bond deepened beyond the battlefield, beyond duty. They learned each other's fears, hopes, dreams. One night, As starlight bathed the temple, Li Xin reached out, tracing the curve of her cheek with trembling fingers. "You are more than the sun," he said. "You are the promise of a new dawn." Tears filled her eyes, and she pressed her forehead to his, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "And you," she whispered, "are the spirit that gives it meaning." In that moment, there were no wars, no gods, no expectations. Only two souls, finally home. I hope you enjoyed the story. Sleep tight and sweet dreams. Until next time, good night.